Hello and welcome to the Nashville Daily Podcast. As you can see, there is a few changes happening. This is episode 999 episodes. And
999
episodes on the wall.
Episodes on the podcast.
99. Take one down,
Pass
throw it
it
around. We have 1,000 episodes tomorrow. So our set is still being worked on, but it should be ready for tomorrow's episode. It's episode 1,000 of the Nashville Daily Podcast. And as I said earlier, I'm Stuart Deming, and joining me in the control room right now, the brains of the operation, is Aaron Pennington.
Yeah, we are here on the little control room, little makeshift set while we get ready for episode 1,000. So I hope you're excited. That's tomorrow. And we're very excited for this new format, and we are glad that you have joined us so far, and we're excited episode 1,000 and beyond is going to be even better.
All right, we're going to talk about a outsider's guide to the best things to do in Nashville here in a few moments. But first, we need to talk about our sponsor, Brad Reynolds. If you're looking for real estate to buy or sell your home in Middle Tennessee, you need to contact Brad with the number that you're seeing on the screen. It's a number I don't have memorized, even though I've said it like 300 times, but I still don't have it memorized. You can also visit his website at thinkbrad.com, and you could subscribe to his YouTube channel at thinkbrad. Last week with Brad, we came out with a Nashville trivia on our YouTube channel, explore.nash. Make sure to check that video out if you have not seen it. So let's get down into the dirty. Starting on March 1st, this is coming from WSMV, starting on March 1st, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park is going to be requiring parking passes throughout the park. And we talked about this probably 3 months ago or so when they made the announcement. They had pre-sales last week on January 18th, and they are 2 weeks prior from this. They had pre-sales of these parking passes. They sold 2,000 of them. The price of these parking passes are going for $40 annually. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And you and I have been into the mountains a few times recently. Aaron.
Okay, yeah. So they only had 2,000 available for the pre-sale,
which is
so they probably could have sold a lot more.
Yeah.
But they sold out on January 18th.
Do you think they sold out faster than a Garth Brooks concert?
No.
Or a Taylor Swift concert?
No.
Oh, I wish. I wish.
Probably close.
Yeah, probably close.
But
weekly tags. So they're going to have daily tags available, weekly tags, and then you can get an annual pass for $40. I think that's very fair. We've been to the mountains 5 or 6 times over the last year, and
it's worth it.
It's worth it.
You'd want to get that.
There's definitely moments, like especially driving in the fall foliage, you can't find a place to park at all.
And it's not like you're paying $40 to some corporation that owns a parking lot in downtown Nashville.
That's true.
This very much goes to all the efforts of making sure that this park runs as smoothly as possible.
All right, so if you're planning on going to the parks, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, I plan on being there a few times this year. You may see us on the mountains and the trails, on the waterfalls. If you're planning on going, comment below your favorite restaurant in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, and did you say that the daily and weekly tags will go on sale February 21st?
Yeah, so on recreation.gov, those tags will be going on sale on February 21st. Now let's talk about some of the local Nashville eats, and we eat at this restaurant pretty often because it's pretty darn close to our studio, and this is Cletus. We just came out with, about 2 weeks ago, with a burger restaurant, or burger video on our YouTube channel, explore.nash, about Cletus. My favorite burger there is the Skippy Thai, and this is a jalapeno candy cowboy burger with bacon and peanut butter. It's fantastic. I get it every time.
It's really good. So make sure you watch that because that is just a lot of fun clips from that one. We hope it makes you hungry.
I'm hungry.
We hope that we hope you go and visit it. We are going to react to a list. We're going to blind react to a list. 26 best things to do in Nashville from just kind of a generic U.S. News travel guide. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm not hopeful, but I'm hoping that there's some good advice in there for you. But before we get to that, if you have been looking for a barber shop that is going to make sure that you are taken care of, that is Bowtie Barber Club in Donelson, just east of Nashville, and they They do the works. They are extremely professional. They have great barbers. They take care of your hair, your beard. Stuart's gotten his ears and nose waxed, his eyebrows waxed. Full service there, and even every time I go, I do like the straight razor on like my neck and like below my beard and everything, and it's fantastic. So if you're looking for a great barbershop in Nashville, check out Bowtie Barber Club. You can visit them in Donaldson, or go to bowtiebarberclub.com.
All right, so this list is impressive. There's 26.
So this was updated December 30th, 2022. So at least they may be staying current.
Yeah, so they go in pretty often. But if you scroll down and you see the first attraction, we'll talk about that here in a second. They have all things to do. They have free. They have a 1-day itinerary, 2-day itinerary,
interesting
3-day itinerary. I think they're doing well because they're coming up in the top search results when I have a VPN on. That they're like, it's like Visit Music City, Metro Government, 2 other ones, Visit Music City. And then it's this article.
Interesting.
How
long do you think this article's been around?
For a while.
Okay. And they just keep it updated.
I think they just keep updating the article, so they keep getting that SEO value.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. And what's interesting is it's a good list.
Yeah.
It's not my preferred option of things, but
okay.
we're just going to go into it and we're going to have a blind reaction.
Where do you want to visit? Do you want to look at the all things to do, the free, the 1-day itinerary?
All things to do, the 26 things to do.
Okay.
So we'll start off. Number 1, and this makes sense, is the Country Music Hall of Fame. That is the most visited attraction in the city of Nashville, and so it makes sense that it is the number 1 attraction and thing to do in Nashville.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm going to disagree with that. And the reason for that is I think the thing that the Country Music Hall of Fame owns is the RCA Studio B. I think that's the number 1 thing to do in Nashville. And the reason for that is the deep history of RCA Studio B, the history of Elvis Presley, the history of Dolly Parton and Charlie Pride. If you want to learn about music history, you go to RCA Studio B.
Here's the problem with saying we do this all the time. So it's a problem that's very interesting. Is as so many people have so many different tastes.
That's true.
In what they want out of a city.
Yeah.
Which is why if you look at our YouTube channel, Explore.Nash, we have such a diverse catalog of content because everybody wants a different experience out of Nashville. Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum is interesting for a number 1 attraction. I think they gave it number 1 because it has the number 1 attendance.
Potentially
in attractions.
We don't know that, but
but it does have the number 1 attendance in Nashville for an attraction.
We do know that the museum is averaging over 1 million visitors a year.
Yes.
And RCA in 2022 broke a record. I don't know what that record was, but it was probably over 250,000.
Yeah. And so I can see why you would put it on there for a guide.
Yeah.
Many people enjoy it. And if you're a Nashville resident, you go to the library, you can go for free. You have a pass.
That's an insider's
at
tip
the library.
For you, y'all.
Number one attraction is very hard to say for almost anything because if it's a number 1 for who? Only country music fans.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, if you don't like a certain genre of music, you're certainly not going to go and visit their Hall of Fame.
Yeah, what would you put as number 1?
That's tough. That's very tough.
I already told mine, and that's RCA Studio B.
I know. That is tough. I don't know if I have a number 1. That is tough.
Think about it. While we go through these attractions, think about it. All right, so number 2, this is not really an attraction.
It is for some people.
is going to Broadway, and this attraction is free. So for some people, yes, going to Broadway and enjoying the honky tonks,
they don't
enjoying
leave.
the free music, and they stay.
They
there
don't leave
for 6
Broadway.
days. Like it's a free attraction for them. But like I would not consider it an attraction because you're not paying for it. But I digress.
Ish. You're paying for the beer, the free live music.
You're paying for the parking.
The parking.
They are taking advantage on you on that parking. But the interesting thing about Broadway is this wouldn't even be in my top 10 things to do in Nashville. And that's part of the reason we made our YouTube channel, Explore.Nash, is because there's so much to do throughout the city of Nashville that you can avoid Broadway literally for weeks, like I do all the time, and still have a great time.
Yep. Yeah, Broadway's hard. It's like this article is. I understand why you put it.
Yeah.
But this leads to the very typical Nashville experience that everybody else has had. This list so far, and you don't get to bend outside of the. You don't get to bend outside of the typical experience with this, which is fine. I don't think that's what they're going for. I think they're saying if you want to have the typical Nashville experience, this is your guide.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, number 3 is the Grand Ole Opry. That would definitely be in my top 5. It's because it's an amazing performance. It's one of the longest running radio shows in the world, almost 100 years old, coming up soon in 2 years. They have great things planned for this year. They do great things. It's definitely one of the best attractions in Nashville. Hands down.
I agree. This one would be, I almost want this one as my top one. I almost want this one as my top one.
You're gonna have to save that. So number 4 is the Ryman Auditorium, and this will be in the top 5 as well. The Ryman Auditorium is a historic concert venue that was originally a church. This church was called the Union Gospel Tabernacle. We have 2 or 3 episodes dedicated to the history of the Ryman Auditorium in our archives. This is a top 5 attraction for me, hands down. The history of the music, the history of the culture. It's in the top 5 attractions for me personally.
It'd be, I think, the top 10 for me.
Right.
The interesting thing for the modern day concert goer is if it's not a concert where you're standing up, it is uncomfortable to sit down for an entire concert there.
Yeah. From a historical perspective, though,
100%. It takes the cake.
Fantastic. It's one of the best historic attractions. And I base most of my attractions on history. So coming in at number 5, this is in downtown Nashville, right across the street from the Ryman Auditorium. This is the National Museum of African American Music. It's a great place. It's not in my personal top 10 because there's so many other things to do in regards to Civil War history and other things. But it does cover a large variety of music, R&B music, jazz music. It's a very unique museum in downtown Nashville.
It is very in-depth. They have now, I haven't been to, besides the Country Music Hall of Fame, other music museums like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But the National Museum of African American Music has probably more interactive elements than any other music museum. Especially National Music Museum that is out there, which is really fun. It's smaller than you expect, but every inch of it is covered with incredible experiences. So I would put this maybe in the top 10 to 15. I wouldn't put it as 5, but top 10 to 15 for me.
All right, number 6 is the Belmead Historic Site and Winery. This is located in Belmead in West Nashville. This is definitely a top 10 attraction for me. The history of this historic plantation and home is very fascinating. We've covered this a little bit on Explore.Nash, so if you want to learn more in depth about that, head to Explore.Nash YouTube channel. It's a great attraction. I also love the winery aspect of it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is they also have a private bourbon tasting room, which is fantastic. You have to pay a little bit of price for that, but it is amazing. You get a guided tour through these drinks and food. It's fantastic. I would highly recommend it.
Number 7, Tootsie's Orchid Lounge as the number 7 attraction
Definitely
for
not
Nashville.
In the top 10 for me.
Now, this is probably, it'd be in the top 25 for me.
It'll be in the top 40.
Yeah. So it's because the Nashville honky tonk scene has the owners have been so intentional about providing like experiences as similar to Tootsie's. You wouldn't really know the difference between a Tootsie's experience now and going to other honky tonks and having a live music experience there too. It's the history of Tootsie's that really holds it in high esteem.
Oh, hands down. So number 8 is the Bluebird Cafe located in Green Hills. This is a great attraction. It's very small. A lot of singers, songwriters have had their start there. Garth Brooks, Taylor Swift, the list goes on and on. So from a historic perspective, it's a great place. Personally, from a concert venue, I like going to the Bluebird, but it's so difficult to get to the Bluebird, so I try to avoid going to the Bluebird.
Did the TV show Nashville make Bluebird Cafe bigger than what it probably is?
Yes. I do believe so, and there's so much history at the Bluebird, but it's interesting from the perspective of if Nashville the TV show wasn't around, the Bluebird still would not be around today.
That's interesting.
Because right next to it, they're building that 25-story building.
Correct.
And it looks weird, man. That huge building, and then this little shopping plaza, and the only reason that shopping plaza is still there is because of the Bluebird.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good attraction. People, if you can get the opportunity to see it, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to get the tickets multiple times, you may want to stop at some point. So the next attraction, what are your thoughts on the Bluebird? Have you been?
No.
Okay. So the next one is Cheekwood Estate and Gardens. This is a top 10 attraction. The thing I love about Cheekwood is they do very like holiday and seasonal themed events like holiday lights. They do a lot of like celebration and festival type things throughout the year. And it's just a beautiful property to literally unplug and go to in the city of Nashville.
Yeah, I think they've been named one of the best botanical gardens in the United States.
Multiple times in a row.
Yeah, this one would be almost top 5 for me.
All right, so this next one, number 10, this is in my top 5. I'm going to say this is number 2 on my list. This is the Tennessee State Museum, and this attraction is free. One thing I love about the Tennessee State Museum is they have the largest collection of Civil War memorabilia in the world. And so you can really dive deep into the history of the Civil War. The really cool thing also about the Tennessee State Museum, and this is the best thing about it, is there's free parking.
Yeah, it really is. That I'm sure that helped the farmers market too.
A free museum, free parking. Like, I don't know if you can beat that.
Not only is it a free museum, but it is on the scale of quality as like the National Museums of blank. Like, it is on that level of quality.
Oh, hands down. All right, so coming in at number 11 is the historic RCA Studio B. This is my number 1 favorite attraction in the city of Nashville. And a lot of deep history here.
Okay,
Presley recorded here. Go ahead.
Go into this because I think this will help answer the question. Because you're an outdoors person.
Yes.
So why is historic RCA Studio B? Why does it beat out all of the amazing outdoor attractions of Nashville for you?
Well, so the outdoor attractions, most of them are free. And so
that's true.
And I know I just talked about the Tennessee State Museum being my second favorite attraction, and it's free. But I love the outdoors. I love what we're going to talk about here in a second, number 12. But RCA Studio B really tells you a sense of like the history of America and music. Elvis Presley is one of my favorite artists of all time, and just being
how did that become?
My mom.
Okay,
my mom would listen to Elvis all the time, and so growing up, I would listen to Elvis, and I'd listen to Dolly Parton, and I'd listen to these historic artists that recorded at RCA Studio B. So RCA Studio B opened in 1957. Elvis Presley probably recorded over 250 songs there. Dolly Parton recorded "I Will Always Love You"
We learned that
there.
from our trivia video that released on Explore.Nash.
Roy Orbison recorded there. The Everly Brothers recorded there. Charlie Pride. It's a home. 35,000 songs over a 20-year period were recorded in this studio. No other studio has that type of caliber of number 1 hits. So out of the 35,000 songs, 1,000 of them became hit songs. Not all number 1, but like in the top 10.
Yeah.
So it's just that history there, and it's just it's become dear to me, and it's because of the private tours I've done there at RCA Studio B, and getting to hear the stories of like people who actually performed with Elvis.
Yeah.
And in hearing those stories. But the most remarkable, I had 2 remarkable moments inside of RCA Studio B. One, we had a private concert, and they were just playing the piano. And this
and
piano,
that's Elvis's piano.
He played it. It was it's actually RCA Studio's piano.
Yeah.
That piano is considered priceless. And then the second thing is when I was getting married, we had wedding week. I had all of my family come to RCA Studio B, and we sung one of Elvis's hymns, "How Great Thou Art." And so just very deep memories to me, and that's why it's my favorite attraction in Nashville. Have you been to RCA Studio B, Aaron?
Yes. Yeah. Because we went there a couple times just to check it out.
Record, yeah.
And then we went to record that interview with Justin Croft.
With Justin Croft. He's coming on the podcast soon. If you don't know who Justin Croft is, he hosts a Bob Ross podcast. It's fascinating. He's coming on the show soon. I'm really excited. So number 12 is Radnor Lake State Park. This would be in my top 5 as well. Radnor Lake State Park, we've talked about it so much here on the podcast. If you want to go into the archives to learn the history and the trails of the park, we have that. I would say Radnor Lake's in my top 5. How about you, Aaron?
Radnor Lake is up there in its proximity to Nashville. The busyness of Radnor Lake, you have to know the off times to go.
Yep.
It would be
which they're ever changing right now.
They are. It's because of the seasons. It's in the top 10.
Okay.
For me, the busyness puts it towards the back half of that list. If it was completely empty, it'd be like 2 or 3.
The next one is the Johnny Cash Museum. This is coming in at number 13, so we're halfway through the list. I like the Johnny Cash Museum, but the focus on one person's life for so long is difficult for me. I think it's cool to see all the albums. It's cool to see his stories and all that stuff. But this museum that's particularly just for him, it's not in my top 10 personally.
Yeah, is it one of those? Because I've never been. Is it one of those? Do you just kind of like you're like, okay, I get it. It's Johnny Cash, and you just kind of you walk through it, and you're like, cool, I get it, Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about the National Museum of African American Music. It's so engaging.
Yes,
you don't have that where you're like everything that they do draws you in really well.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been to Johnny Cash Museum, so I don't know. I don't know how they operate.
I've been multiple times, and it's been interesting taking clients that are from other nations and they don't understand a thing about Johnny Cash, and then having to explain that to them. It's very difficult. Okay, so then number 14 is Nashville bus tours.
Here's Johnny.
It doesn't get specific. We've taken.
It's just. I think it just says in general.
In general, so you have
just a bus tour.
You have Old Town Trolley. You have the gray line, double decker. They're good. They're okay. I was guides on one of those for a while.
You'll get a general understanding of Nashville. I think general understandings of cities are a good thing.
Yeah, you get general, but it's not. It's artificial. It feels like artificial at times.
Yeah,
because they're not diving deeper into the history. So, okay, I digress. I'm a professional tour guide, so I'm very critical of these things. Aaron, you're gonna have to say this one because I always butcher this name.
All right, so the number 15 on the list
15,
is the John Siegenthaler pedestrian bridge. This pedestrian bridge has been around longer than you think.
1909.
So it's, I mean, just absolutely insane that it's been around for that long. It looks like a modern structure, and they have done incredible things with this, and I'm glad that this is a pedestrian bridge now, and not a car bridge.
Yeah.
And this bridge is fantastic. This bridge is great. Surprisingly, not as many people as you think cross it.
Yeah.
It's
especially since they shut down the free parking in downtown. All that free parking besides right next to the river is gone.
So you can still have a good experience walking on the pedestrian bridge. It's very windy at sunset and sunrise because of the river.
But the views there, man.
The views are incredible.
Remarkable. I don't know if there's a better view of a city skyline like from the Nashville pedestrian bridge.
I agree.
It's hard.
I agree.
All right, number 16, Nelson's Greenbrier Distilling. The story from Nelson's is amazing. We're going to get them on the podcast to tell that story. It's so incredible. I don't want to ruin anything. The experience at Nelson's is fantastic. The bourbon and whiskey is amazing. It's one of my favorite distilling companies in town. I think Pennington beats them and Corsair beats them.
Really?
But then if you get into
what about the Leaper's Fork? How would that one rank?
So
it's too far.
Ranking whiskey, I would say Pennington, Corsair, Nelson's, Leapers. Jack is a whole different beast. It's a whole different ball
It's too
game.
far away.
That would be my list of top distilleries. The story at Nelson's, though, is really remarkable. You need to check that out. Number 17 is the Hermitage. And this place is amazing. This really covers the life of Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United States. This is in my top 10.
Yeah, and this one I was trying to decide what ranking. This would be in almost my top 6.
Yeah,
I think.
The ghost tours that they do annually, the stories of Andrew Jackson, his life, his legacy. He was the only president in United States history that had all of our debt paid off. So there's just so many fascinating things, and I've had the opportunity to have multiple curated private tours of the Hermitage, and so diving deep into these 4-hour tours and just learning about Andrew Jackson, there's nothing else like that. If you can afford it, I would highly recommend it. All right, coming in at number 18 is the Nashville Zoo at Grassmore. Grassmere, not more. It's a great zoo. I love the red pandas. I love the bears. The snake in the bathroom gets me every time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a bathroom right by the entrance, and there's this giant snake while you're going to the bathroom if you're using the men's bathroom. It's interesting. I think the history of the zoo with the old home there and everything is fascinating. The Civil War history is fascinating. I think it's still missing the like true punch like the National Zoo or the Memphis Zoo. It's a good regional zoo. I think they could once those upgrades come with that, experience.
They're adding so many. It would be in my top 20 like it is here. Number 19, Belmont Mansion.
It's all right.
I would put this in the top 50.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think it's in the top 20.
Yeah.
It's apparently the largest house museum in Nashville. The history itself is interesting, but not interesting enough to make the top 20 for me.
I would agree, and I've been to the Belmont a few times. It's missing that it factor, like the Hermitage or Bellmead.
Correct.
Like it's missing that, and there's a lot of history here. Don't get me wrong, but it's just missing that it factor. All right, coming in at number 20, I would put this in my top 10. This is the Parthenon. Nashville is the only city in the world that has a full-scale replica of the Parthenon from Athens, Greece. But our Parthenon is fully standing. The one in Athens, Greece, is not.
Yeah, so maybe theirs is a broken replica of ours.
No, we're definitely the replica. The affordability of the Parthenon for $10 a person is fantastic. I would highly recommend it. It is an amazing experience. We have an episode, the history of that, but we plan on diving deeper into the history of the Parthenon here soon on the podcast. All right, coming in at number 21, this is also free. This is Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Greenway. Aaron, you're here way more often than I am. What are your thoughts?
So Shelby Bottoms Nature Center in Greenway, it's interesting to me because it's one of the first outdoor attractions that are free besides Radar that they've put in here.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to see if this one specifically would rank within my top outdoor adventures that's free, and I think it would. Spot number 21, it would be in my top 25
for Nashville specifically.
Things to do.
Though?
Yeah, Nashville specifically because you have to put a certain leash around where to go in Nashville. Yeah. What could beat this out, and I think would in my books, are the Warner Parks.
Yeah, hands down.
I think they would beat this out, but Shelby Bottoms, I would put Warner Parks and Shelby Bottoms pretty close, but I'd put Warner Parks just before them.
I like Shelby, but I think Bell's Bend over in North Nashville, that's one of my favorites. Percy's
the
great.
Mosquitoes, dude. The mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes are insane.
That takes it out of my top anything.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience. If you want to learn more, it's the perfect day in the summer on explore.nash. All right, number 22 is Music Row. I'm going to be very frank and transparent here. There's really nothing to see on Music Row, folks, unless you wanted to see the outside of RCA Studio B or the Quonset hut, which you can't really see. It's a lot of corporate buildings.
Apartments now.
Apartments. Like
law offices.
Seeing Waylon Jennings' house, that's cool. But like other than that, Music Row is very underwhelming. It's not in my top 25 at all.
I think there's like one music studio now that allows people to go in and see the recordings on Music Row.
I'm not sure.
It's not what it used to be.
It is not. And it's not in my top 25. All right, 23, Adventure Science Center. Personally, I have never been to the Adventure Science Center, so I do not know what that experience is like. I assume it's good. Have you been?
I went once. It is okay. Adventure Science Center, like most science centers, very kid-focused.
Yes.
They have a few adult events.
Mm-hmm.
They have, I believe, a great kind of star show. I'm trying to think of the words. Planetarium, I think.
Yeah.
But it's okay. If you're a family, fantastic, probably top 10.
Okay.
But if you're not, I wouldn't visit it.
Yeah. So the next one, number 24, is the Friss Art Museum. The thing that's fascinating about this museum is that the exhibits change every 3 to 6 months. So there's no permanent exhibits in this museum, so that makes it unique. I've only been once, and that was 5 or 6 years ago.
I went last year.
Okay.
But it was still very COVID regulated.
Okay.
When I went.
Yeah.
I think it was last year. It's either last year or like 2020.
Yeah, I think it has a really good position. I wish they had more of a permanent exhibit. But the samurai exhibit that they had was pretty cool. All right, so number 25, and this ties into the Parthenon. This is Centennial Park. It's a great place to go. It's a really free place. It's amazing to be at. It's good. It's in my top 10 with the Parthenon.
I think you have to combine. You have to combine these. This one with the Parthenon.
Yeah, I would not separate.
It's like RCA Studio B and Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
like those. I think those should be put together.
All right, so number 26, and this is the end of the list. This is Sound Waves at the Gaylord Opryland.
What a bad one to end on.
There's controversy behind this, guys. The city of Nashville gave approximately $15 million to help build this indoor water park in Tennessee, in the Nashville area.
I wish we knew. We weren't doing. I can't remember if we were doing the podcast at the time.
We did Instagram Live or something about.
Yeah,
this.
so we weren't doing the podcast at the time. So I can't remember if it was bonds or exactly what it was that they did. But this one is not open to the public unless you buy a ticket at Gaylord or a hotel room at Gaylord. So this is why this is probably not the best
to end with.
Stuart, what water attraction would you put to replace Sound Waves at Gaylord Opryland for this one?
I'm not a fan of water parks. I don't like the urination in all of the water. I think that's kind of gross. A water attraction, Percy Priest. Swimming at Percy Priest would be my water attraction, but not what's that organization out on the lake?
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember it right now.
That's how often we go to this place.
Yeah.
Percy Priest, Old Hickory, boating on one of those lakes. That would be my water attraction. I don't know. Well, comment below what your favorite water attraction is in Nashville. It's definitely not Sound Waves for me, because I've never been, because I don't get rooms at the Gaylord that often because it's expensive, especially when I live 5 minutes away from the Gaylord.
Right.
So let us know what your favorite water attraction is. Let us know what your number one also in the comment on your list in this 26. Tomorrow, episode 1000. We will be in our new set. We appreciate you guys bearing with us while our other set is under construction, but we will see you guys tomorrow.